girls, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is really fun because I'm going to be doing the all about tarot tag that Simon from the Hermit's Cave made. I'm really excited to do this. I've just really been feeling like I want to film videos like this. Like I really want to do the tarot origin story and I want to do the how I tarot tag, but I thought this one was really fun as well. It's just 13 questions or prompts that I'm going to go through. So the number one is your first deck and how you encountered it. So my first deck was actually the Everyday Tarot, and I don't have it, so I'm going to be inserting like pictures here. It's like a little deck that's purple and gold and white, and that's the only colors it has in it. I encountered it in a shop, Urban Outfitters, when I was on my honeymoon, actually. So back in the very beginning of 2020, in February, I was on my honeymoon. I saw the tarot deck in Urban Outfitters. It was only like $15, and so I picked it up. I had been wanting a tarot deck for a while before that, and for some reason, all the tarot decks I was seeing were like $25-$30, and I wasn't really willing to spend that much on something that I wasn't quite sure about, but it was something that really interested me, and so I saw it and I snagged it. And I don't really know what tarot I was looking at the time because I have decks that I bought for like $15 online, but it was just the least expensive deck that I had found, and it was just there in person, so I bought it. And it came in this little box with this little book. And I remember my husband and I went back to the hotel room and I was trying to do like a little reading for him with it, reading from the guidebook, and I didn't shuffle it correctly and I got like all pentacle cards, and it just wasn't a very good experience because I didn't really know what I was doing. And the artwork on that is very monochromatic. It's not something that I feel like a beginner would really like be able to understand very well. So that was my first deck. I'm thinking of picking it up again. I have an Etsy shop and I was using it in art, and I was also using it in like giveaways in little goodie bags. So I was giving a card away for each order. So that deck is pretty much all gone. I think I have a few cards left from it, and I still have the box in the book somewhere. But I'm thinking of repurchasing it now that I know tarot and can read tarot. So we'll see. It was a cute little deck, but not what I would recommend for a beginner. So after I gave that away and I decided that I was going to learn tarot, like I kind of set that goal out for myself, this is the deck that I purchased online. And this is when you look up just like normal Rider-Waite deck or like beginner tarot deck, this is one of the first ones that pops up, and it comes in the yellow box. And this one, I feel like I had two duds when it came to my first decks. The coloring on this is just horrible, and the reason I'm showing you this is because I have a deck I want to show you that kind of relates to this for the second question. But this, my brain just couldn't wrap around this when I was trying to learn. Like the coloring was so off-putting to me that it made no sense. They all looked the same to me. I just couldn't get past this like scribbly, dotty little artwork. I don't know, I couldn't. And then the coloring was just horrible. And I mean, look at that, it's like garish, and I hate the coloring on this. This is what made me be like, I hate the original deck. The original Pamela Coleman Smith art is not for me. And it's just because of this horrible like outlining and coloring. So this was like my first kind of original deck that I bought for the purpose of learning, and it just, no. I do not like this version. Okay, so number two is your last deck and how your tastes have changed since your first. So my most recent deck that I've purchased is the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot. I love this deck. My tastes, I guess, I think they haven't necessarily changed, I guess. I didn't care what the artwork was on that first deck. I just cared that it was a tarot deck. So I wasn't really looking for a specific art style or anything like that. I just wanted a deck. And so I guess I've just kind of figured out what my taste is. And this kind of is a type of deck that I really enjoy. Super illustrated, right? I love these scenic pictures that look like paintings. I love dark art. So spooky, creepy stuff is really like my cup of tea. So I've just kind of like found what I like. My taste varies. So I've recently gotten into like pip decks, like pips with feeling decks, I suppose. So that's kind of how my taste has changed a little bit, because when I first kind of realized what tarot decks I liked, I stayed away from any kind of a pip deck. But this is kind of like the epitome of my style. I love these like dark, spooky, super illustrated type decks. So this is my taste in a deck for sure. And I also really like Llewellyn decks. I've found that some of my favorite decks that I have are from Llewellyn. One of the first decks that really made me understand tarot and made me fall in love fully with tarot and understanding it with just like something clicked for me was the Green Witch Tarot. So I really enjoy decks like that. I really enjoy like the little title down here, and you can, I don't know, when I get out a Llewellyn deck, like you can tell it's a Llewellyn deck. And so I oh my gosh, this deck is so beautiful. I want to make a video about it. But yeah, this is kind of where my taste, I've kind of found what I like. The deck I was going to show you that kind of shows that I love the Rider-Waite-Smith now is the Pamela Coleman Smith RWS. And you can see the difference on the artwork. It's very muted. It's beautiful. It's not all like scratchy. It still has like an old school feel, but I'm so glad that I found some Rider-Waite decks that I really connect with, because I've fallen in love with Pamela's artwork. It's my favorite. I love reading with these decks, especially for clients or for just really clear answers. So I guess just finding an RWS deck that worked for me. I have quite a few now, but this is just, it's such a stark difference. So I thought I was somebody who didn't like RWS, and I've found that I really, really love this original artwork. It just has to be presented in a different way than what I was originally exposed to, because this just looked messy and garish and horrible, and I just, no, I don't know. Everybody looks sunburned and red, and like their skin is all like dotted. I don't know, it's strange. So not my favorite, but I'm very glad that I gave it another chance, because I really, really love the RWS now. So that's kind of how my taste has changed there, finding an RWS deck that worked for me when I originally thought I wasn't somebody who liked the original artwork. Okay, so this next prompt is, why tarot? I'm kind of looking at this like, why tarot other than these other divination tools. I just find tarot to be what works for me and what I really love. I've tried, reading with runes. I've tried Lenormand. I've tried pendulum work. And while those are things I still sometimes dabble in, tarot is the best for me. I think a lot of it has to do with the physical aspect of it. Like, I feel like having a deck in my hands, there's something about that part of it that I really like. Holding something like this and having 78 pieces of artwork at your disposal. I love that aspect of it. I love the storytelling that you can do with a tarot deck. I've loved stories since I was a kid. I'm a big reader. I've always loved reading. I've recently got back into it again after years of kind of being busy and sidetracked by other things. But I find tarot to be a wonderful kind of storytelling tool, as well as it's done so much for me. And we're going to talk about that in a different prompt later on. But tarot is just, ever since I heard about it, I knew that it was something that I wanted to do. And I just find it to be such a wonderful experience. It's just, I don't know, I love it. That's why tarot. It's just, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so number 4 is tarot pet peeves. You know, I don't have a lot of pet peeves. I was hearing a lot of people talking about the artwork in tarot, like the reusing of the 3 of Swords, or like the pregnant empress, or, you know, things like that. That doesn't bother me. I really do like to see those same kind of tropes done over and over in different artwork. That's just me. I do like when they have a fresh take on it that still kind of either adds meaning to what I already kind of know about tarot, or, you know, believe about tarot, and they kind of change it a little bit, and it's either the same meaning or it kind of adds more to it. That's cool. But I guess my biggest pet peeve about like the actual like physical cards is cardstock. I don't understand why someone would make a card deck or a tarot card deck that you can't shuffle. Like, I don't understand that. A lot of people don't like thin cardstock, but I'd rather have thin cardstock than super thick cardstock that I can't even shuffle. Like, I don't know. And when I first started reading tarot, I would side shuffle, because I wasn't somebody who grew up knowing how to riffle and bridge. It was something I always wanted to know how to do, but I didn't know how. And so I didn't really understand where people were coming from when they said they couldn't shuffle it, because I feel like I can shuffle most decks with a side shuffle. But as I've kind of evolved in my tarot practice, a good riffle and bridge for me is very important. And especially when I'm reading for somebody else, I really want to get that good shuffle in. It's part of the reading experience for me. It's part of the like meditative like place that I need to get into before a reading. And it just, I don't know. I don't understand why you would make a deck that you cannot riffle shuffle. Like, it's just unusable. I have some exceptions. I'll talk about one in a minute, but I don't know. It's just, I'm more likely to reach for a deck that is physically easier to use than one that is impossible to shuffle. Like, it becomes a deck I never pull out, because it's just an extra thing that I have to do to get the deck to work for me. And sometimes, most of the time, that's not something I want to do. Again, I do have decks I make exceptions for, but that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, like, about actual tarot decks. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about Insight Edition decks. Those are a big pet peeve just in general. Making tarot into this like collectible thing, which, you know, to each their own. But for somebody to come to tarot and think that that's what it is, that's what kind of is a pet peeve to me. Like, they don't understand how deep it can be, because this is the decks that they're exposed to from like fandom decks and all that. And then, I don't know, I guess just for tarot tube pet peeves, like gatekeeping, people saying you should do something or you shouldn't do something. And I think everyone should just kind of let everybody live the way that, you know, live and let live, right? I watched a video recently, and somebody in the comments was talking about how this isn't supposed to be church, right? A lot of us have religious trauma or have had a past with religion that you know, has caused them issues. And that's why I feel like, myself included, a lot of us have been drawn to this community, is to get away from that church aspect and telling people what they should and shouldn't do to go to heaven and all of that. And so I just don't like to see that in this community, because this community is a safe space for me. It's somewhere I go to escape sometimes, or to feel better, or to feel like I'm with like-minded people. And for that to kind of make its way into my safe space, it's just, I don't know, it can be a little triggering for me. So that's why, yeah, that's a pet peeve for me for sure. Okay, so number 5 is my favorite tarot spread. So I am not actually big on spreads, but my favorite tarot spread, I would say, is just a past, present, future. And I know that's like so cliche, right? Past, present, future. And there's a question here in a little bit that talks about how I use tarot. So I love to use past, present, future as just like a little starter, especially when I'm doing a reading for somebody else. This is my favorite go-to spread, just to get an energy of their current situation, right? I don't, and we'll talk more about this later, but I don't think that the future is set in stone. But looking at the energy of somebody right now and kind of where things are going if things stay the same. So I love past, present, future. It's very basic, I know. When I'm doing a reading for myself, I love to do just 3 cards. I really love to do like an oracle card in the middle and 2 tarot cards, and I'll kind of have the oracle card as like my main message to focus on, and I'll use the tarot as like added messages or how to implement that message. But I'm not big on spreads. I did buy the 1001 Tarot Spreads book, and I'm excited to play with that a little bit more. But I feel like I read very intuitively and very like energy based. So when I read, I feel like and I don't read with reversals. So I feel like when I'm doing a reading, I can kind of tell what the issue is with the surrounding cards, what kind of is the thing to work on. So that's just how I read. I've just always kind of read very organically like that. So I'll do past, present, future. If I'm doing a bigger, that's kind of the most I'll pull for myself, unless I'm doing something really in-depth. If I'm doing like an in-depth reading for a client, I like to do kind of 3 cards around the situation, or 6 cards. So I'll kind of just pull a spread like this, that's just 6 cards like this, and just kind of what pops out to me as the issue, right? Like right away, this is kind of the bad card or the more negative card in the spread. And so then I kind of work from there, and okay, so this is screaming at me as kind of the issue of whatever we're looking at, and then I look at what's around it. And yeah, so that's kind of how I read. I don't know what it is with spreads. Like I do love a good like mind, body, spirit, or if I'm doing like an oracle reading for somebody, I like to use spreads, or like a obstacle, solution, and then like a message. So I just really enjoy 3 card spreads. I have this little thing that I got in an oracle deck, and it shows like all these different spreads you can do for 3 cards. We have past, present, future, situation, action, outcome, mind, body, spirit, strengths, weaknesses, advice, option 1, option 2, option 3. So I really like to use this for whatever I need as far as a 3 card spread. But I really like to do this kind of a thing. Sometimes I'll do 9 if I feel like it, but I feel like this can give me a really clear picture of what's going on. So yes, those are kind of my favorite spreads. Okay, so number 6 is my preferred tarot system. No surprise here, it's RWS. I love RWS. I feel like this system is not perfect, right? Nothing's perfect, but I feel like it's pretty damn close. Like, I think that they've kind of thought of everything, right? When they created this deck, I feel like they thought of mostly everything. And that's just my opinion. I've never tried Marseille. I do have some pip decks, but they're more, they're not Marseille style. And at this point in time, I have no desire to learn Thoth. Maybe that'll change in the future. Just like wanting to know everything about tarot is kind of the only reason I can foresee like wanting to learn Thoth. But it doesn't appeal to me. I don't know. There's something about Crowley that puts me off. But for now, this is my preferred system. I've only been doing tarot now for like hardcore for like a year and a half. And so I feel like there's so much more for me to explore with this system that I'm just not ready to move on to anything else. But I love this. I love RWS. So that is my preferred system. Number 7, tarot rituals. So if I'm reading for a client, I will always have a candle lit. If I'm doing a reading on my channel, always have a candle. That's kind of like me opening space. I do cleanse with incense the space when I'm doing a reading for somebody else. I used to kind of do this for myself, and now I'm so like, let's just get a reading out, that I feel like I've kind of drifted from that ritual aspect, which makes me sad. Like, I want to do that, right? I want to have more of a ritual surrounding my reading. So I think I'm going to get back into that. I do, for cleansing, when I'm just like trying to get a quick reading, I like to knock on my decks, or I like to do like selenite cleansing. I do have rituals I do around tarot for the new and full moon. So that's important to me. I always, I'll do the candle and the cleansing and the ritual aspect when I'm doing my new and full moon spreads. Every month, I haven't missed one of those all this year in 2022. That was kind of like a main goal for me, was to do something with each new and full moon, and I've done that. So, yeah, and I feel like using the same decks. I've used the same deck for each new and full moon reading. One main deck, which is my Moonology, and then I kind of work with different cards around that. So I feel like that has been a ritual for me. And right now I've been trying to just do daily readings for myself, which is not something I'm normally used to. But just sitting down and being a little more casual with my tarot, because I feel like I was only pulling it out for very important questions or whatever, but I feel like just having a more casual like relationship with my cards has actually helped me to just get to know them better and get to use more of my decks. I feel like if I'm doing a more important spread, or I'm really like coming to the cards with a very important question, or a very, I don't know, like a situation that's really sensitive or whatever, then I'll like treat the reading as more of an important ritual, I guess. So it just kind of depends. Shuffling, I mean, I shuffle constantly. Like, that's a ritual, I suppose, that I do always when I'm doing any kind of reading, is just shuffle to get into like that mind space. So yeah. Okay. 8. How do you use tarot introspection, divination, etc.? I use tarot for everything. Like I was talking about earlier, I like to do the past, present, future kind of a spread. And for me, when I do that, it's very much like looking, like if we took a snapshot right now of the energy surrounding you, what would your past, present, and future kind of look like, right? And like I said, I don't believe that the future is set in stone at all, but I feel like the tarot can kind of look at the energy, and if you continue down the path that you're on right now, then this is kind of where you're going, right? But everybody has the power to change that. It's not concrete, it's not set in stone. And so I think that's important to remember. I use tarot to look at situations. I look at tarot. I feel like I use tarot, like a good kind of way to summarize all this is I look at tarot and I use tarot as like reading the energy around situations, right? If I'm wanting to know if, what I'm doing for my eating habits will help me lose weight, it's looking at the energy around that. And I do think tarot, like I've had some scary, accurate things happen with tarot with predictions and in the divination aspect. So, and I am somebody who's inclined, I believe in magic. I believe that there are things that we do not know fully about. And so I do believe that tarot has something mystical about it. I do think that it can tell the future sometimes. But I think, I use it for introspection, obviously. I use it for looking at my past. Use it for inner child work. I use it for shadow work. So I use it for basically everything. I think it's fun. I've used it for like predicting what's going to happen in a movie or a show that I haven't seen yet, or like a book. So I use it for everything. I feel like you can use it for a game. Like I've looked up tarot games that I think are really fun. You can use it for storytelling. You can use it for like altar work, spell work. I have done that. I will, especially with like oracle decks and certain like astrological things that are happening. I will use like an altar card or use it in like rituals and spells. So I think the uses for tarot are endless, and I pretty much use it for everything. I use it for like motivation. I have some up on my treadmill, like some oracle cards up there that are like motivating. So I use tarot for everything, but I feel like the main thing I kind of use it for is introspection and self-help work. So yes. Okay, so number 9 is your significator card and why you feel it represents you. So my significator card is the Queen of Pentacles. This is me. When I looked at all of the kind of court cards and I was like, which one really represents me? When I first kind of heard about significator cards, I did that. And this is the one that I feel like represents me the most, and it doesn't really align with me astrologically. I have a lot of air and fire in my chart, and earth is kind of the lesser in my chart. I do have earth, but it's the least amount. I have no water in my chart at all. And I know that scares some people. It scared me when I found out. I was like, are you kidding me? I have no water. But anyways, especially through my spiritual practice, I've felt very connected to the earth. And I had this kind of epiphany where I wanted to leave the city I was in and I wanted to move to the middle of nowhere. And now I do. And I just feel so connected to the earth, and I just feel so happy when I'm in nature. And this also speaks to like the hearth witch in me. Like I feel like that's me. I want my home to feel welcoming, and that's kind of like one of my main goals in life, is like making my home a cozy space, a welcome space, an open space. And I just want that energy to carry through me as well, like when you meet me. And I just feel like that's me. I mean, I like physical material things as well, so I feel like that could add into it. But this is the epitome of like who I am inside and just who I relate to. It's like that mothering energy, right, with the queen, but it's not to the point of the Queen of Cups. Like I feel like a lot of people come to me with their issues, and I've always just kind of been that safe space for people, even if I first meet them. But I feel like I have a hard time expressing, like, how do I explain, like, expressing compassion well. I'll feel it, but I feel like I don't express it well towards others, or know really how to react sometimes to certain situations like that. So I feel like the Queen of Pentacles is kind of that in-between space. Like, she's a little bit detached from that, but she's able to show love in other ways, through maybe cooking you something, or giving you something, giving you a gift, you know, like, that's more of my love language for others than like being super helpful emotionally, I feel like. So yeah, that is my significator card. Okay, number 10, most expensive tarot acquisition. So that would be my Crimson Asteria Tarot. Now I have done like tarot hauls and stuff when I first was getting into tarot, and I would spend like $120 on Amazon ordering a bunch of decks. But as far as one tarot deck that was the most expensive, it's definitely this one. Sorry about that card. That's a little bit extreme there. I paid about $100 for this. I was willing to pay $120 because I thought that that's what I was paying for it. It was a Canadian price though, and I didn't realize that. So I thought I paid $120, but when it converted back to US dollars, it was only $100. So that, you know, made me happy because I was willing to spend more, but this is the most I've spent on one deck. I mean, and this deck is absolutely stunning. I love, love, love this deck. It was on my wish list for a very long time before I decided to pull the trigger. Part of the reason I decided to is because this creator has been known to have her decks go out of print. And so I just, as soon as I could financially, and, you know, I was sure that I wanted it, I pulled the trigger because I just... absolutely beautiful. Look at my significator card again. But I absolutely adore this deck. It's beautiful. This is one I was talking about that I make an exception for shuffling. Just because of the size, it's a little hard to shuffle, riffle shuffle. So I split it in half and I riffle shuffle it that way. But because of how beautiful this deck is and the connection I feel with it, I make an exception. So yes, but this is my most expensive tarot acquisition. So number 11 is Unicorn deck, a deck that's hard to find. My Unicorn deck is actually the Solaro Occulto deck by the same creator as this one. I'll put a picture up if I can find it, but that deck is just so beautiful, and I love those like earth tones. I've found that that is kind of my aesthetic, is earth tones in my home. I kind of have earth and jewel tones. I also have like that in my wardrobe. So that is my Unicorn deck. I want that deck so badly. And apparently it's going to come back into print. So hopefully it does, because I really, really want that deck. And I found a listing for it on Etsy, and it was like $300, and I just can't spend that on a deck. So yeah, that is my Unicorn deck. I also really, really want and I don't know why, but I really want the Bohemian Baroque Cats by Baba Studios. Something about that deck is so cool, and I know they're coming out with a new version or a new release of that, so I guess I'll just have to be patient and wait. But I just really think that deck is interesting, and I don't have any like dog or cat decks, and I feel like that's kind of the one I've been waiting for. I do really like cats, but I don't have any cats, so I don't really know why I'm super drawn to that deck. I think it's just the like anthropomorphic thing, because I really like my Fantastic Menagerie, but there's something about that. I love how like in the images I've seen, like the tarot, like the cat is doing tarot. I don't know, I just think it's really cool. So those are like my Unicorn decks. But hopefully they come back into print. Like, I don't think it's hopeless. Okay, so number 12, what's the most important lesson tarot has taught you? You know, every time I think of this question, I just keep coming back to the same thing, and it's that tarot has taught me to have hope again. When I found tarot, I was hopeless. Like, I was at a really dark point. And not necessarily when I found my first deck. That wasn't really like the turning point for me with tarot. I feel like at the beginning of 2021 is really where I made that shift and started to get into tarot and oracle and turning my mindset around. One of the main things I did at the beginning of 2021 was I bought a journal, and I wanted to kind of just write down my feelings and where I was, because I wanted to reflect on that and where I was going to go. Because 2020 was a horrible year for me, but 2021 was worse. And it's interesting because I feel like that year was so good for me, and also, it was just a bad year, but I feel like it's where my spiritual journey really blossomed, and so I can't think of that year as just bad because of that. But it taught me hope. It taught me to look towards the future, and I want to make a specific video about how tarot kind of changed my life. And it's not like, I'm not saying that these pieces of paper physically changed my life, but just like the mindset I had when I found tarot, and just being hopeful and looking towards the future and knowing that I could have what I wanted, that is what changed my life. And tarot is a big, big part of that. And where I was when I first got into tarot and where I am now is the craziest transformation ever. I feel like I've just completely changed everything in my life towards like the good, and things just keep getting better. And so I feel like tarot taught me to have hope, even in the darkest moments, to have hope. And it taught me like magic is out there, right? It brought me to this community, which I didn't even know existed. It was like my whole world kind of opened up. Because I'd always felt weird. I'd always have had interactions with spirits and ghosts, and I was wondering what's wrong with me, like, why is this happening to me? I had psychic kind of incidences happen to me, and I didn't understand that there was such this welcoming, beautiful community that I had never heard of. And so discovering manifestation, and what you put out into the world comes back to you, it's changed my whole life. And so yeah, hope. That is what tarot has taught me, the most important lesson. Okay, number 13 is a tarot dinner party. You have a guest of honor plus 2 others, and they can be dead or alive. I'm not quite sure on this one. I hadn't quite thought of what I was going to say. I think I'm going to be basic here and say that my guest of honor would definitely be Pamela Coleman Smith. I adore her art, and her life is just very interesting to me, and it's full of mystery, and I would love to just get the full story or the full picture, because I feel like it's just something that nobody really quite knows the full story, right? And so I would love to just chat with her and have her be the guest of honor. I don't know if she would like that though, right? Because she was Catholic at the end of her life. So maybe she wouldn't. I don't know. I would want to know. Does she still have any kind of attachment to the tarot? Did she want anything to do with it? Did she use it? I want to know all of those things. As far as my 2 other guests, I don't know. I feel like Danny Mystic. I just feel like she is a wealth of knowledge, and I love her demeanor and how she speaks about things. She's kind of like a natural storyteller just in the way that she is and how she speaks. And so I think she would definitely have to be at my dinner party, because I think she's a really cool person. I've never met her, but just from watching her videos, she seems like somebody I would get along with. For the third person, you know, I don't know. I feel like I would want like and this isn't like a specific person, but I'd want somebody that was doing tarot like 50 years ago, let's say, or had a psychic shop like back then. And I kind of want to see like how they read tarot and how it's kind of changed. So I feel like that would be really cool. Like somebody who did tarot readings like 50, 60 years ago, had a psychic shop, and just like what decks they used, and you know, how they would read for others. I think that would be really cool. Okay, so that is all of the questions for the All About Tarot tag. This was really fun to do, just talking about my journey and where I've come and how far I've come and all that. So it was really fun. Thank you, Simon, for making this tag. It was really cool to do. If you guys want a personal reading from me, I do offer that in my Etsy shop down below. I will have Simon's original video linked down below. If you want to go watch it, I definitely suggest it, because I just had so much fun and I really enjoyed watching his video. But yeah, I really love you guys so much. I hope you're having a magical week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!